I want to share some of the creepy things I find being mailed through the post office. And if you think we don't look, yeah, we do. If we have any grounds for suspicion, we can run a package through scanners without even having to fill out a form. Then if we see something in the x-ray, which might contain something illegal or a safety hazard, we're allowed to open it, and yeah, pretty much anything can look illegal if you put your mind to it. But that doesn't stop people from still sending the weirdest shit. They count on the high volume of packages being way too high to inspect each one, and usually they're right. Here are a few times that they're wrong. A human finger. It still had its wedding ring on. And I guess one lady didn't think divorce papers would send a strong enough message, so she sent her whole finger. At least that's what I'm assuming it meant. Blackmail letters. We got a string of letters headed to the same destination, all without a return address. Inside were pictures of a politician, sorry, not saying which one, naked in a hotel room, with a girl 20 years younger than him. The letters were threatening him if he doesn't cough up. Drugs. You have no idea how many people are using dark web websites to send drugs. If they're packaged right, it's pretty impossible to tell, but others are sloppy. A coffee can full of marijuana, which I could smell from a room away, a syringe full of heroin, and a handwritten label reading insulin, LOL. Cocaine in a sugar bag, you name it. The weirdest thing I've ever found was that what came in 2 weeks ago though, and it's why I'm writing this post right now. Real ordinary envelope with red lettering mixed in a bag with other ordinary letters. I wouldn't have noticed it if I hadn't watched the guy drop it in the box a minute before I collected. He was wearing one of those old-fashioned monk robes like you'd expect to see in a medieval monastery. I forgot about him until I was unpacking the bag at the office and I saw the red lettering. The address had started to smear and there was no mistake in that. It was written in fresh blood. If that doesn't count as grounds for suspicion, I don't know what does. I opened it to find a list of 12 names, also written in blood. The first 4 were crossed out at the bottom, and the list said, "Give me 6 months for the rest. Destroy the letter, and don't tell anyone." I tried Googling the names over the last 3 months, and all 4 crossed off names had committed suicide, all the same way too. A bullet to the head. I forwarded the information to the police and they said they would investigate, looking for any connection with the remaining 8 people. There was another letter from him, collected from the same box last week. It was the same list, but this time there were 5 names crossed off. I googled the 5th name and guessed it. Suicide 2 days ago, single bullet to the head. Almost the same list anyway. My name was added to the bottom, and at the end it was written, "I told you not to tell anyone. Do not try and find me." Well, I didn't have to try to find him because I knew where he was dropping the letters off. If I could just explain to him I wasn't a threat, if I promised not to tell anyone anything else, then maybe he'd take my name off the list. The police weren't finding anything, and I couldn't think of anyone or any other way to protect myself. Yesterday I waited at the same mailbox he dropped off at every day. I tried to get the police to wait with me, but they didn't think I had sufficient grounds to expect his appearance. Right on schedule though, same time every day he dropped off the other letters, the cloaked figure appeared. He was walking strangely this time though. He could barely move his legs. He was struggling to even lift the letters up to the mailbox. I confronted him and begged him to take my name off the list. I swore I wouldn't say anything else about his business. I didn't even care if the others died. I just didn't want to be on that list. He stayed quiet though. The figure seemed to be struggling under his cloak, and then he dropped to his knees in front of me. Why would he be begging me? Was he afraid I'd turn him in? When he didn't answer, I pulled the cloak back to reveal his face. His mouth was gagged. I helped him out of his cloak and found his legs and arms were tied too. No wonder he was having trouble getting the letter into the box. Who did this to you? What's going on? I asked him. He opened the letter and crossed out a name. Was that it? Was I off the list? I took a step closer to see, but then he pulled out a handgun right in the middle of the street. Holy shit, I backed up so fast I fell straight on my ass. But he wasn't pointing it at me. He was pointing the gun at himself. One shot to the head. He was dead before he hit the ground. You might think I'm an asshole for this, but even before calling the police, I went straight for the letter. All I could think about was whether my name was taken off, but he hadn't crossed out my name. He'd crossed out the 6th name on the list. I checked it against his driver's license, and yeah, same name. It was his time to go. Not only that, but my name had been moved. I'm now number 7, the next one up. Written below the list it said, I told you not to try to find me.